Okay, let's start with me, Monet Keys. I was born January 12, 1996 in the city of Chicago. My mom was born November 6, 1969 in the city of Chicago also. And my dad was born June 20th, 1970 in the city of Chicago. Now we're going to go on Tracy Weatherall's side, aka my mom. This is my grandfather, Theodore Weatherall, and he was born in 1951. This is my grandmother, Joy Lucas, and she was born in 1953. This is my aunt, Carissa Weatherall, and she was born in 1979. And next is a picture of my sister, Karima Weatherall, on my mother's side. Okay, I made a simple mistake, so everybody stand by until I get the right picture. Now this is a picture of my sister, Karima Weatherall, and she was born in 1989. Now we're going to go on Devin Keys' side of the family, aka my dad. This is my aunt Nicole Keys, and she was born in 1978. This is my grandmother Sharon Lindsay, and she was born in 1949. And next we have a picture of my grandpa Lester Keys. Crap, I did the wrong picture again. Everybody stand by. Now this is my grandfather, Lester Keys, and he was born in 1951. Now it's time for a short bibliography of my parents. My mom, Tracy Weatherall, was born November 6, 1969 and raised in multiple places as a kid. She was first raised in a place called Lathrop Homes, where she didn't have many family members. Her child life was not of a typical child's at the time. She would visit her father after her father was sent to jail for protecting her aunt in a domestic dispute. She was also bored as a kid because she couldn't really hang out with her friends too often because of her strict mother, and it wasn't a lot of family members to be around to keep her company. Eventually moved away from Lathrop Homes after her family's apartment had been robbed by the local gang members. Her mother eventually found out that her violent boyfriend that she had been dating at the time had set up the robbery so their house could get robbed. After her father got out of jail, her parents reunited and moved to Lincoln Park. At 9 years old, her sister was born, but at 10 years old, her parents split apart. Her mother eventually moved them to Cabrini Green. Here she witnessed violence and turmoil amongst her community. Her mother eventually moved her family out to Rogers Park. But Rogers Park was shortly lived after her mother was involved in another domestic violence relationship. Her mother eventually moved them to Evanston. My mother didn't enjoy Evanston as she was growing up. She saw a lot of promiscuity, racism, and violence within her community. When she grew older, she moved back to Rogers Park with her first baby at 21 years old. Later on, she met my father, married him in 1998, and moved to Blue Island where they raised me. My dad was born June 20th, 1970 in Chicago. He lived on 2324 East 75th Street, but moved to 11713 South Church Street. When he moved around 10 years old, he noticed a lot of gang and drug violence around his neighborhood, but he didn't involve himself with that. Instead, he involved himself with baseball, basketball, football, and his friends. After getting out of high school, he chose a career in military and went to the Army. He did miss his family and friends back home, but he eventually met new friends that became family to him now. After getting out of the Army, he later found a job as a field auditor at the TCI cable company. He later met my mother and quit that job and got a job as a signal maintainer at the BNSF Railroad. Then moved away with my mom from Rogers Park to Blue Island, where they raised me. Well, that's my family tree, everybody. And I would have added more pictures or gone more in depth, but then I was like, nah. So thank you, everybody, for watching the Keys and Weatherall family tree.
All the folks you love together.